Do this before you start memorizing lines. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Ding. Yeah, I shaved. Before I get into the sermon or the topic for today, I wanted to tease the fact that we'll be dropping some really cool interviews here on the channel in the coming weeks. They are all fascinating interviews and I can't wait to share them with you. In the meantime, you can help us tremendously by not just liking a video here and there and subscribing to the channel. Those help, but you can really help by sharing a video or the channel itself to your friends. So if you're receiving value from this channel, which so many of you have told us over the years, this is the primary no-cost way of giving back to us. Okay, so now on to our topic. Do this before you start memorizing your lines. There's a lot that goes into self-taping and audition. In fact, and I've talked about this before, I don't think non-actors have a clue as to the amount of time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears that can go into simply taping a one-liner in your home self-tape setup. Oh, and side note, if you are having trouble with your home self-tape studio, we do have a course that is self-guided that you can purchase online that will help you rock that home self-tape setup. It's called Get Set Up, and I'll link it in the show notes below. And because it can be such a drain on our mental resources, our physical resources, our time, it can be tempting to skip over some essential parts of your prep as an actor. So now I want to give some good tips or reminders on things that will help your prep before you start to memorize lines. By the way, this is assuming that you're receiving an email from your rep for a self-tape audition request. First, please note the deadline. Even though with the new SAG-AFTRA TV film contract, we shouldn't see those tight turnarounds as often, it can be so easy to overlook the deadline. And don't do what I did in the past week, which was procrastinate because I got an audition with a 7-day turnaround, normally unheard of here in the Southeast. And I waited a couple days, but then I got another audition in the meantime that was due now on the same day as the first one. So now I have only 2 or 3 days to pack 2 auditions into. Whereas if I had started my prep earlier on the first one, I could have spread it out and felt a lot less anxiety. So I learned the hard way. In short, know what your deadline is, know what that time frame is so that you can start to plan accordingly on when you'll have to have your prep done by, when you'll actually do the physical taping of that audition, whether it's at home or at a service like It Taped. And now it's time to memorize lines. Wait, no, I'm being told not yet. Next, you need to search through your email or any supporting documentation, your CMail on Actors Access, etc., for anything out of the ordinary. For instance, over the last 14 plus years of taping actors, it has happened way too many times that an actor comes in, does their taping, leaves, and then either they or we stumble across a line in the taping instructions that said, please, actor must do 2 takes. And it was a simple 1 sentence in the instructions that could have saved them a lot of grief if they had just read it ahead of time. Or there was a specific note on the tone of the piece, or they need an accent for the character, or there's a special skill that is crucial to the role, etc. And while you're at it, check out the shoot window for the project. Make sure you don't have any conflicts. These are simple instructions that are so easy to miss if you're on autopilot. So a quick mental switch is to approach each audition with the mentality of, I wonder what's going to be different about this one. And now it's time to memorize. Nope, still not time. Next, use the script and any notes from casting to help establish what the tone and the pacing is for this show. For instance, if it's a Blumhouse movie, you should know what that means in regards to the type of movies they make. And I'm not going to do the work for you and just tell you. Part of your job as an actor is to do the research so that you know these things, especially a company like Blumhouse that is very famous right now. It's very popular. This is one of the things actors need to be on top of. If it's Aaron Sorkin, it has a drastic implication on the pacing of your dialogue. If it's a 4-camera sitcom, that has implications as to how much improv you're allowed to do. Hint, don't do any, unless casting says you can or actually asks for it. Now, for the veteran actors watching, you're doing most of this work on autopilot. because it's intuitive after years and years of auditioning, of being on set, of watching television and film. But for the newer actors, you're going to have to work a little harder to ascertain what the tone is for a show, because you might not know just by looking at the paper, by looking at the notes from casting. You may not be familiar with that showrunner, that director, that studio, that network. And this is where Google, YouTube, or your favorite coach can help you with this step of the process. And now it's time to... Crap! Still not time to memorize? Now that you have a 10,000-foot view on the overall tone of the show and the pacing for your specific scene, maybe... Now you want to drill down and figure out the specific details that are relevant to the episode that your scene is in, or if it's a movie, where in the story does your scene take place? It's at this point you want to read as many pages from the script as possible. Now, in the Southeast, we almost never get access to the full script, but even if you have one page of FYI dialogue or stage direction, either before your first scene or in between your scenes, read it. Read everything that is sent to you, because oftentimes there are nuggets embedded in the stage directions of other scenes, or sometimes even in your scenes, that can be overlooked if you're not diligent about reading every word on the page. Heck, even knowing the page number or scene number of your scene can give you relevant information to your prep. Okay, is it time to memorize lines? Nah, it's still not time. One last thing before I like to jump into line memorization, and that's figuring out what signature piece of my own humanity am I going to bring to this role. This is where the work I did with Sam Christensen back in 2011 has made my prep so much faster than it was before 2011. And if by some reason this is the first video that you've watched on this channel, please check out our Sam Christensen image process. I'll link some stuff in the show notes below because it is life-changing for actors. In short, when you get to this phase of the process where you're deciding how you're going to approach your actual character, are you asking questions like, what do they want? Am I even right for this role? What bold choice can I make to stand out amongst all the other actors I'm up against? If those thoughts dominate your brain, then I'm sorry, but you're in trouble. All of those thoughts put you outside of yourself, taking you further and further away from your own authenticity. And plot twist, authenticity is everything to a casting director. In fact, Erica Bream, who is a casting director and is very vocal on Instagram and doles out so much amazing wisdom, recently put up a reel on her Instagram page talking about this very thing. And she said that what stands out is when an actor is, quote, standing in their body and being fully present. And you can't achieve that if you have this lingering question throughout your entire performance of, am I doing what you want? That's you trying to approximate some idea of what you think they want, which again puts you outside of yourself, instead of connecting to something deep inside you, a part of your own humanity, something that you want to bring to the role. And so this is where I get to exercise the most power that I have in the audition process. It's the one time that I and I alone get to decide how I want to embody the character, not what anyone else thinks. That's exciting, right? Now, please understand that I arrive at my decision after having done all those other steps in the preparation process. In other words, I know the sandbox that I'm playing in because I've done my research, I've done my prep. The biggest disconnect we see in actors as a taping service is this step. Because any actor can memorize lines. That is like literally the bare minimum basic requirement of an actor. So memorizing lines does not make you stand out. It does nothing to set you apart from the pack. And paradoxically, that's exactly what every actor is concerned about, is standing out. But what sells tickets is when I, the audience member, believe that I'm peering in on someone else's humanity. It's intoxicating. But so many actors are trying to be interesting by making bold choices so that they can stand out. But what they're really doing is obscuring the one thing you have that no one else has, which is you. Whether you realize it or not, you're trying to dull your own edges or become that dreaded approximation of what you think they want. No, stop. It's just diluting your performance into the equivalent of white noise. You know, the type of noise that we fall asleep to. So once you do figure out your signature piece of humanity that you want to bring to the role, now, yes, I'm being told now you can start memorizing lines. That said, you do you. If you want to memorize lines somewhere else in the process, it's totally fine. There's no magic to this order. The point of this video was to highlight the other steps that actors might be prone to skip or just are unaware of altogether, because it's so tempting to just focus on memorizing lines. And I'll leave you with an image of placing yourself in the casting director's shoes, or producer or director, whoever is watching your video, and making a decision as to whether or not you should be cast. No one in that position has ever said, "Ooh, yeah, let's cast that person. They got the lines right." No. That's never been the deciding factor on why someone was cast. I know I left a lot of threads dangling in this video, so if you have any questions or comments, drop them below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.